again, everyone. This is Mary at Great Light Rising, and today we're talking about what we do in heaven. To phrase that another way, I'll say we're speculating on what our soul does when it's not in our body. When I was a kid, I had this image of heaven, the life ever after, supposedly the perfect dwelling place. So I pictured myself just floating around on a cloud, eating grapes. And souls would be wafting about in heaven, doing nothing in particular. In 2025, a poll showed that approximately 86% of Americans believe we have a soul. Just about all religious and spiritual teachings tell us that our soul doesn't die. It leaves our body and it goes somewhere else where it lives forever. So where exactly does it go? And what does it do all day? That's what we're exploring in this episode. But before we begin, if you like this kind of material, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate your support and it keeps me motivated to make more content like this. And while I'm at it, let me ask you, if you have a particular question about how spirituality works, this channel is all about the spiritual awakening, how to navigate it, what you need to know, answering the questions that you have, talking about how things really work, instead of the lies we were told. If you'd like me to make a video about something you are curious about, leave me a comment and I'll see what I can do. So what do we do in heaven? First, let's take a look at what religion says and then we'll go beyond that. But even before we do that, let's talk about this word heaven. For purposes of our discussion, I'm using that word to describe the place our soul returns to when it's not here. I don't know where that is. Maybe it's not a place as much as it is a dimension of reality, an energetic plane of existence, where we exist in energy but don't have a home. Or maybe we simply go home to a specific planet in the solar system or some other galaxy. Many of us relate to the star systems of the Pleiades, Sirius, Arcturus. Some people dream about a planet with 2 moons or 2 suns, and they believe they're having another life on that planet or had a past life there. So I don't know exactly where or what heaven is. Maybe it's different for each one of us, or at least different for different soul families. So I'm just using the term heaven in a general sense to describe that place where our soul hangs out when it's not in a body. Let's talk about what religion says. Ancient texts and esoteric teachings vary widely across cultures, so what we do in heaven depends on the tradition. In Christian texts like the Bible, heaven is often described as a place of eternal worship and communion with God, where souls experience unending joy, peace, and fulfillment. Revelations chapter 7, known as the Apocalypse, talks about 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, protecting earth, while God redeems 144,000 souls and then redeems multitudes of souls who have survived the tribulation of the earthly journey. All those redeemed are taken to heaven, where they praise God around his throne for eternity. In Islamic tradition, the Quran describes Jannah as a paradise of sensual delights, gardens, rivers, and eternal rest, but it also emphasizes spiritual closeness to Allah, where the righteous enjoy rewards tailored to their deeds. Hindu and Buddhist esoteric teachings, like the Upanishads or the Tibetan texts, often frame heaven, Swarga, or Devaloka as a temporary state. Souls might enjoy pleasures or reflect on karma, but it's not permanent. You're reborn based on your actions. Esoteric traditions like Gnosticism or the Kabbalah get abstract. Gnostic text suggests heaven is a state of gnosis, pure knowledge and unity with the divine source, free from material burdens. Kabbalistic teachings, like those in the Zohar, describe higher realms where souls engage in mystical contemplation of divine emanations, ascending through spiritual levels. Looking broadly across all these different traditions, we get a sense that heaven is less about doing tasks and more about simply being, simply existing, whether it's through worship, bliss, or transcendence. But do we really simply exist for eternity without doing anything? I don't know about you, but for me that falls short of the promise of eternal life. I mean, I'm all for being part of the oneness and in a state of bliss, but I think I'd be pretty bored just adoring God all day and all night. No disrespect intended, but if all is mind, as Hermes teaches, then I want to use my share of it to think, to create, and to improve life for the sorry souls who haven't got to heaven yet. People like you and me here on earth, living the daily grind. I would want to be helping them, us, to have happier, more fulfilling lives on earth. I would want to be doing something, even if it's just a mental or spiritual form of work, rather than doing nothing all day, forever. I mean, endless peace and harmony must be nice, but wouldn't it also be sort of bland? What would you like to do in heaven? Let me know in the comments. Most religions, with the exception of the Christian religions, believe in reincarnation. We come back again and again, taking on different roles, different genders, different cultures, and different challenges, each time gradually refining our soul through the trials and the tribulations of the school of earth, until we're ready to make our ascension into the next level of being. If that is so, then it would make sense that there is some kind of preparation for the next upcoming life, and some sort of review of the past life, a review of lessons learned perhaps, or some sort of measurement of soul growth. Or else, what would be the point of continuous incarnations, and how would you know if your soul is evolving spiritually? Let's explore what real people say who claim they've been to heaven through near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences. These people often have similar experiences to each other, so there is probably something to what they say. They speak of a realm of intense peace, love, and light, often a bright, warm, welcoming glow. They frequently mention meeting deceased loved ones or spiritual beings, like guides or angels, who communicate telepathically with overwhelming compassion. They feel a sense of timelessness where past, present, and future blur. Some describe a life review, reliving moments with deep emotional clarity, but without judgment. The environment might feel like a vibrant, hyper-real version of reality, with beautiful gardens, cities of light, or formless expanses of space. Some people talk of a tunnel or a void which they have to pass through to get to heaven. Importantly, once they've crossed over or passed through the tunnel, many people don't want to come back. They feel a deep sense of belonging and peace. Needless to say, some of them choose not to come back, and then those people are described as dead, and their bodies have been vacated, and so we don't get to hear from them what it's like over there. But some are resuscitated and come back to life, their souls reluctantly returning to their bodies, and then they live to tell the tale. Skeptics say that near-death experiences could just be the reflection of brain activity under stress, or a dreamlike state where nothing is really as it seems. But people who have experienced being out of body insist it's more real than life itself. Each individual has a unique experience, but they all seem to have common themes, like a deep sense of peace, feeling infinite love, and being spiritually connected to other family members who are already in heaven. They talk of the ability to transcend space and time, to simply think about being somewhere and they are instantly there, or think about having something and it instantly manifests before them. There are many interesting books written by people who've had near-death experiences, and also some interesting books on what we do when we pass over, or as some people like to say now, when we make our transition. A couple of books that fell into my awareness are Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz and Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. The works of these two authors have significantly shaped the modern spiritual concept of our life between lives, in other words, what we do in heaven. Their findings are based on hypnotic regressions with clients and working with psychic mediums to ask people various questions, like why they chose at the soul level to live a life of disability or to experience sexual abuse. The answers are surprising and revealing, and that might be the subject of another episode, but it always has to do with spiritual growth, growing in love for yourself and others, developing compassion, and developing self-worth. So let's take a look at some of the most common themes that come up in research about what we do in heaven. Let's first talk about how we get home to our place in heaven. This is different for everybody, but in a general sense, upon death, the soul disconnects from the physical body and reconnects with its higher self, an aspect of our divine consciousness that remains in the spiritual realms. When we are incarnated, we are behind a veil that masks us off from the reality of our higher self. But upon death, the veil instantly lifts, and we see clearly exactly what and who we are in our higher aspect, and we immediately reconnect with the feelings of unconditional love that abound in the spiritual realm. There's no judgment, no punishment for sins committed, no harsh reprimands, only unconditional love. Some seasoned souls who have reincarnated multiple times just simply know their way and go there instantly, while others may experience a brief period of disorientation and may need to be escorted home by their guides, who wait patiently for them to make their transition. Some teachings talk about a period of approximately 3 Earth days, where even a seasoned soul may remain on Earth, visiting past loved ones in spirit, and making their goodbyes before they transition completely. This is supported by stories of the remaining loved ones who smell the perfume or cologne of their dear departed one in the middle of the night, or see lights flicker, or sense the energy of the soul in their presence even though they can't see them. Some remaining loved ones may have visitation dreams, where their dearly departed one visits them from heaven, or shows himself in a beautiful setting by a running brook, surrounded by nature and seemingly at peace with all that is. Once the goodbyes have been made, the souls return to their soul family, wherever that might be, and are greeted with great fanfare and a welcome home party. Even if your friends and family are still in incarnation, their higher selves are there to greet you and welcome you home. When we incarnate, we don't take our entire spirit essence with us. We take only that part that is necessary to help us live the life we planned. That part becomes our soul, but our higher self is still there in heaven, guiding us through our incarnation. Sometimes a soul is not ready to make a full transition. If life or death have been traumatic, or if there is a deep connection to an incarnated soul or an unresolved dilemma, there may be a period of disorientation or confusion where a soul lingers on earth. This is not a permanent state, and the soul will eventually return. Sometimes other humans, like mediums or healers, are able to release trapped souls or ghosts and assist their complete transition. Angels and guides also assist the process from the other side by making a safe space for that soul and exerting a soft or gentle pull on the soul towards the light, while continuing to respect its free will. If the death has been traumatic and sudden, sometimes these souls, especially new souls and children's souls, may not realize they are dead, and they continue to live in a sort of disconnect from reality, both physical and non-physical, until they eventually find the light and find their way back home. No soul is left behind. All souls return to heaven. When someone dies in a tragic accident or suffers the trauma of being murdered or some other kind of tragic death, they sometimes need special care when they return to the other side. There are compassionate souls in heaven whose job it is to care for souls returning from a traumatic death, and they are allowed as much time as they need for re-energizing before returning to their soul family. Nothing is ever forced. Everything happens in its own good time. Suicide is a special case. Some people, especially those influenced by religious teachings, believe that suicide is a grave sin and leads to eternal punishment. Some say that souls who die by their own hand are required to reincarnate immediately to resolve their karmic debt or fulfill their original life purpose. These views are outdated and misguided based on what we know from channeled material and research by esoteric teachers and truth seekers. Souls who die by suicide are met with unconditional love and healing from guides and higher beings. Rather than punishment, they undergo a gentle period of rest and restoration to process trauma, reflect on their experiences through a loving life review, and eventually reunite with their soul family, aligning with the idea that all deaths serve spiritual growth without condemnation. As for hell, there is no hell. No soul is condemned to burn in eternal fires of hell. This is complete propaganda and misinformation. I'll add a side note here to say that if you've lost someone to suicide, you need to know there was nothing you could do. When someone commits suicide, the overwhelming majority of people they leave behind carry some sort of guilt. If only I'd noticed this or said that or done something, I could have saved them. There are people who threaten to commit suicide but are not fully committed. This is a cry for help, and these people can be saved and would most likely not go through with it in the first place. But some people are so lost within themselves that they are fully committed to ending their life, and nothing you would have said or done would have made any difference. This is a complex topic, so I'll leave it there for now. But if you carry guilt around someone's suicide, please let that go right now and know that there was nothing to be done. While I don't think that suicide is ever the end goal, it's usually foreseen at the soul planning stage as a potential outcome, and therefore is not always totally unexpected at the highest self level. Don't see it as a failure or a cop-out or a stab in the back to those left behind. It's a desperate measure born out of deep pain and requires our compassion. For those of us who have never felt desperate enough to end our lives, we can't imagine the hurt that someone endured before they did decide to end it all. And while it is very sad for those left behind, the soul that committed suicide that returns to heaven is cared for, loved, and nurtured. Let me pause here and reiterate that everything that happens in life, and in the afterlife too, honors our individual free will. There is never coercion. Nothing is forced. There is always choice, always, especially about coming back into another life. Now let's move on to what we actually do in heaven. I mentioned before that there are caring, compassionate souls ready to help returning souls who have had a difficult life or a difficult death. In heaven, reportedly we work in soul families, and we have objectives or jobs that we do, as well as the important work of reviewing past lives and planning future lives. There are other jobs to do in heaven. Some advanced souls may be assisting and guiding earthly lives, acting as guides or guardians to those still around. When a person loses someone they are very close to early on in life, such as a sister, a brother, or a child who dies young, the soul of the deceased may continue working with the person they left behind. Others may be experimenting with manifestation and creating new life forms destined for Earth or another planet. These may be minerals, plants, or animals. Others may be learning more about frequency and the electromagnetic spectrum and how energy works. They may use this information for creating healing technologies or free energy devices when they return to Earth in a future reincarnation. There are an infinite number of different tasks that souls might be working on, and an infinite number of possibilities for tasks that souls might do in heaven. I choose to believe that we are following our true calling on the other side. For example, if we are called to be scientists, we might be working on scientific phenomena that can be used to develop breakthroughs in earthly science. Some of us will be working with animals and exploring animal behavior, helping animals adapt to dwindling natural forests and coexist with humans in cities, or purging cruelty to animals. If we are called to be healers, we may be working on new healing technologies that can be brought to Earth. Then, when we reincarnate, we make discoveries and have breakthroughs, and these are inspired by our Akashic remembrance, the knowledge our soul has on the spiritual side of our existence. And that might not be available to us in our conscious mind, but it is inspired through us from our higher self, through our innate wisdom and our unconscious mind. We might also be working in spirit with those who are doing those exact same things here on Earth, helping to bring them the inspiration that they need to have the insights to create the technologies or breakthroughs. I believe that we choose our jobs in heaven based on our passions and interests, and that we find our work extremely enjoyable and engaging. I once had a conversation through a psychic medium with my sister, who passed at a young age. In that lifetime, she was mentally retarded and physically disabled. She told me that she works helping souls who are having difficult lives and helps them come to peace within themselves. She said that she enjoys her work immensely. In heaven, we exist in soul families. Soul families are groups of souls who have common goals. Each individual within the soul group has their own evolutionary path that they are following for their soul growth. But they also have points of intersection where their own personal lessons are woven into the tapestry of a group lesson, the soul family. Let's illustrate this by talking about something I personally am familiar with, and that is healing. I come from a soul family of healers, and I'm pretty sure on the other side, I continue to learn and grow my healing abilities. Members of this type of group will have a focus on being healers or needing healing. So, one might be a doctor while another might be disabled. Others may suffer mental breakdowns or severe PTSD. Some will experiment with alternative healing and energy healing, while others may develop drugs and vaccines, or be the victims of drug use and vaccine use. There is generally a lot of contrast within a soul family so that all perspectives of a subject can be exposed, understood, and healed. For example, someone with a severe physical disability may inspire another member of the soul family to research a cure or develop a tool, like a wheelchair or a prosthetic limb. A faith healer or energy worker within the soul group may experience being ostracized or mocked by a society that is not ready to accept or believe in their healing abilities, while someone born with mental retardation will experience being ostracized from the collective in a different sort of way. Someone in the soul family may be a regular doctor or a nurse and learn traditional medicine. They will witness the good and bad effects of modern medicine and may have realizations about better ways to do things. Others may create medicines and tinctures from natural and unnatural substances, while one or two may experience fame and fortune by establishing a new healing modality or creating a breakthrough medicine that has a big impact. Some will take too many medicines and fall victim to devastating or fatal side effects, illustrating the need for medical improvements. So you see, all facets of healing are experienced within the group, and at the end of it all, the soul family gathers and processes the data, the information, healing prejudices around their family mission, shedding light for those who can't believe, exposing untruths, teaching others what they have learned, and so on. Through the brave journeys of these souls on earth, we are able to improve life. Look back 500 years ago at what medicine was like, and you will see that our work here on earth has been paying off. You can do this with any subject. I'm just picking medicine because I'm familiar with it. 500 years ago, medicine was rudimentary, relying heavily on herbal remedies, bloodletting, and spiritual rituals, with limited understanding of anatomy or the real cause of disease. This led to ineffective or harmful treatments for conditions like infections or chronic illnesses. Natural healing was both based on folklore or trial and error, with practitioners like apothecaries or wise women using plants and poultices but lacking scientific validation, resulting in high mortality rates from now treatable ailments. Today, medicine has advanced dramatically through scientific discoveries, enabling precise diagnoses via imaging, genetic testing, and microbiology, and treatments like antibiotics and organ transplants, and highly skilled surgical procedures that save millions of lives. Natural healing has also evolved, integrating evidence-based practices like herbal pharmacology and holistic therapies alongside conventional medicine. This progress is the result of what humans have achieved over numerous incarnations, reflecting humanity's spiritual and intellectual growth, demonstrating a collective advancement in alleviating suffering and fostering well-being, aligning with the esoteric view of soul evolution through shared learning and experience. If we look, we can see progress not just in medicine, but in every area of our lives. 500 years ago, there were no cars, no computers, and no phones. Disabled people were sent to circuses to be mocked and ogled by a curious and disdainful public. People with mental disabilities were put in straitjackets and locked in institutions. A parent who gave birth to a disabled child was considered a failure or a sinner. The child was ignored, ostracized, or placed in an institution where it was treated with cruelty and ignorance. Today we don't do that. Improvements in how we live and how we treat others have come about because brave souls like you and me incarnated and lived those difficult lives, and then we went back to heaven and we said, no, let's not do that anymore. And so we may have reincarnated as people who campaigned for kindness and compassion because our soul carried the remembrance of what that felt like. In my healing practice, I meet lots of men and women alike who have lived lives of abuse even now in this generation. As we work together towards healing their trauma, we discover that similar abuse has gone on for generations within the family lineage. But now they are doing things differently with their own children, or choosing not to have children, so that the abuse is not carried forward. In recent times, we have been collectively removing and ending a lot of karma. When I work with people who have abuse in their background, and we get into the Akashic lineage, I can clearly see that the soul family has been working this problem for generations, and it's all coming together now, here with my client, being healed now. When those soul family members reincarnate, this problem will be gone, and new, more advanced problems will become the focus of the soul group. We all grow through the experience together, and our soul lessons focus on healing trauma, growing in love and compassion, and learning about forgiveness. So part of the work we do in heaven is planning. Some say we spend a considerable amount of time in heaven planning, not just our own life, but planning the next soul family mission, working with our loved ones in spirit, deciding who will take on what role, who will be the parents, the children, the friends of the family, the antagonists, and so on. It's highly probable that we don't just plan the next life, but several lives ahead, because sometimes it takes a few incarnations to sort out a complex situation. Think about how many people are influential in your life through the whole course of your life, how many interactions you've had with mentors, antagonists, and so on, and then contrast that with how many people you might have influenced yourself from your very first days on earth, being cared for by your parents, all the way through school, high school, college, and career. Your friends, co-workers, people you liked and people you didn't like. Every one of the people who came into your life had a role to play in helping you grow or learn. And likewise, your interaction with them was also designed to help them grow and learn. When you think about it, it's a pretty complex web of interconnectedness, and that's why it takes a lot of planning. But we don't do it alone. We do it in cooperation with our soul family and all of their guides and angels, as well as our own guides and angels. We are never alone. Even though there's plenty of work to do in heaven, there is also endless time for fun and amusement. Traveling across the cosmos is a great treat, and unlike here on Earth, it requires no money, no tour guide, and no transportation. You simply go wherever your heart takes you. You can also manifest games that you play by yourself or with others. Anything you can imagine, whether that's a game of tennis with a friend, a quiet read, taking a stroll along a beautiful nature trail with waterfalls and creeks, or visiting a distant star. There is plenty of time for goofing off, interacting with soul family friends, and traveling to the far distant outposts of the galaxy. So you see, Far from being a place where we spend our time in endless worship of some kind of intimidating authority figure or aimlessly floating around as an energy form, heaven is a place where we are involved, interested and passionate about creating a better world, whether that world is here on Earth or somewhere else. We are actively and proactively developing the skills that we will need in future incarnations, studying natural laws, quantum physics, free energy, healing modalities, countless other things in order to improve life for all of us in the future. We mentor, guide, and assist from our position of higher perspective those who continue to struggle with their current incarnation. We inspire, help, and love them from beyond the veil, nudge and guide them to keep them on track in pursuit of the soul family mission as well as their own personal soul growth. There are so many things to do in heaven, we are never bored, but because our work is enjoyable, we are also never stressed. Stress is a distinctly human response and not a heavenly response. So I hope I've given you something to think about in this episode. Leave me a comment and let me know what heaven means to you. Did you learn something, or do you remain a skeptic? Either way, let me know. Take care for now, everyone. Remember to keep shining your light. You are a brave and courageous being of light, here to do the work of making the earth a better place through your trials and tribulations and through the love and compassion that you are cultivating within your heart. We are creating here the earth we will be born back into. Keep up the good work, and remember, it takes all of us. Together, we are the great light rising. Thank you for listening.